You did not find this by accident. Something in you, quiet, wordless, older than your thinking mind, pulled you here. Not yesterday, not an hour from now, right now, in this exact breath, in this precise moment of your life where something feels unfinished, where something feels close, but not yet arrived, where love feels like a room you can almost see through the door, but have not yet been allowed to enter. Carl Jung spent his entire life studying moments exactly like this one. He called it synchronicity, the phenomenon where the outer world arranges itself in response to something stirring in the inner world. You did not scroll to this. You were directed here by something in you that already knows what your conscious mind is still afraid to hope for. And here's what it knows. Someone is in love with you right now. Not was, not almost, is deeply, quietly, almost painfully in love with you. But they are not here yet. Not because the love isn't real. Not because you were wrong about what you felt between you. But because God, the universe, the divine intelligence that Jung called a self, is testing them first. This is that story. And it was always meant to reach you today. You know what it feels like to love someone and receive silence in return. Not the clean silence of a clear ending. Not the honest silence of someone who never cared. The other kind, the silence that arrives after warmth, after moments that felt sacred, after conversations that went on past midnight, because neither of you want to be the one to say goodbye first. That silence, the one that doesn't make sense, the one you have turned over in your hands 1,000 times trying to understand. Maybe they pulled back without explanation. Maybe they were present and then, slowly, they weren't. Maybe they said things that implied forever and then behaved as though forever was something they suddenly could not afford. And you did what a person of your depth always does. You looked inward first. You asked what you did wrong. You replayed every moment searching for the crack in the foundation. But here is what you could not see from inside that pain. The silence was never about you. The distance was never proof of their indifference. The confusion you felt, that quiet, aching bewilderment of someone who loves genuinely and cannot understand why love alone is enough. That confusion was a first sign, because people who feel nothing do not lie awake trying to decode silence. People who were never truly loved do not feel this particular kind of hurt. You felt it because it was real. You are confused because what happened between you defied the logic of ordinary love. And ordinary logic has no framework for what God is doing right now in the life of the person who loves you. Your pain was not a punishment. It was a preparation. And it was always leading you here. Before we go deeper, if messages like this one find you at exactly the right moment, that is not coincidence. That is this channel doing what it was built to do. Subscribe right now and turn on every notification, because every single video here is a message that was placed in your path on purpose. Carl Jung believed that two people cannot truly meet until they have first met themselves. He called this process individuation, the long, often painful journey of becoming whole, of facing the parts of yourself you buried in childhood, the wounds you learned to work around, the fears you dressed up as personality traits so no one would see how deeply they governed your choices. Jung said that until a person undergoes this confrontation with their own shadow, the hidden, unintegrated parts of the psyche, they are not capable of real love. They are only capable of projection, of loving the idea of a person while remaining unable to truly see them. The person who loves you is inside that process right now. This is what the test is. It is not a test of whether their feelings are genuine. Their feelings are genuine. It is a test of whether they are capable of honoring those feelings with the full weight of who they are. God does not keep two souls apart because the love is wrong. God keeps two souls apart because one of them, or sometimes both, is not yet ready to carry the love without breaking it. Think of it this way. You would not pour something precious into a vessel that still has cracks. You would wait. You would let the vessel be repaired first. You would endure the waiting because you understand that the thing you are protecting deserves containers strong enough to hold it. That is what is happening right now. The person who loves you is being repaired, not discarded, not redirected toward someone else, not slowly forgetting you. They are being taken through something interior, something that has nothing to do with you and everything to do with who they must become before they are allowed to stand in front of you and finally say what they have been holding. Jung would call this the necessary darkness before integration. You might simply call it the hardest part waiting. It is almost over. Let me tell you what this person's nights look like right now. They are not indifferent. They are not out there moving freely through their life, unbothered, having released you without a second thought. That is the story your fear tells you at 3 in the morning. That is a narrative that loneliness constructs when silence goes on too long. It is not the truth. The truth is that your name lives in them in a way they cannot explain and have stopped trying to. There are moments, ordinary moments, the kind that should mean nothing, where something small triggers the full weight of what they feel for you. A song, a particular quality of evening light, the way someone else laughs in a room, and how it is immediately, painfully the wrong laugh, not yours. And they feel that wrongness in their chest like a key turning in a lock that leads somewhere they're not yet allowed to go. They have picked up their phone to reach out to you more times than you know, typed words they did not send, deleted paragraphs that held more honesty than they have managed to offer anyone in years. Not because they do not mean those words, because they are afraid that the version of themselves sending those words is still not the version of themselves you deserve to receive. That is the test. That is exactly the test. Jung wrote that the most profound human experiences are those that cannot be rushed, that the psyche moves at its own sacred pace, and any love worth having must be allowed to mature in the dark. The way that seeds do not grow faster simply because you are impatient for spring. This person is still in the dark, still in the part of the season that looks like nothing is happening. But beneath the surface, something is shifting. Something is becoming ready. And you've been feeling it. You had moments, quiet and inexplicable, where something in you went still and you simply knew. Not hoped, knew. The way you know things that do not arrive through logic. The way Carl Jung said the unconscious communicates, not in words, but in certainty. In that soft, unshakable feeling that this is not finished, that the silence is not an ending, that something is still moving beneath the surface of what you can see. Trust that feeling. It has not lied to you. You are not forgotten. You are not someone a person recovers from easily. You are not someone who can simply be set aside and left there without cost. They carry you every single day in ways they are only beginning to understand. They carry you, and God is using that weight to build them into someone finally worthy of you. There are signs. There are always signs, not the loud, undeniable kind that announce themselves in capital letters. The quiet kind. The kind Jung called synchronicities, moments where the outer world whispers something your inner world already knows. You have been receiving them. You just did not have the framework to name them until now. Maybe you dreamed of this person on a night you had finally convinced yourself to let go. Maybe a song found you. Their song, the one that belongs to whatever space exists between you, playing from somewhere unexpected at exactly the wrong moment to ignore. Maybe you felt them, not thought of them, felt them. A sudden warmth in your chest with no external cause. A strange certainty that pressed against your ribs and passed before you could examine it. That was not your imagination. Jung spent decades documenting precisely these phenomena, the way two psyches in genuine connection communicate beneath the level of ordinary awareness. He called it the reality of the soul. The unconscious does not observe distance. It does not check whether it is convenient. It simply transmits. And on their end, the signs are arriving too. They are being shown repeatedly and without mercy every version of themselves that is not ready for you. Every old pattern surfacing. Every wound they thought was healed reopening just enough to be properly cleaned. God is thorough in this work. He does not prepare someone halfway. He takes them all the way down to the foundation, examines every crack, and rebuilds from there. This is why the timing has felt impossible, because real preparation always feels like destruction from the inside. But here is what the signs are collectively saying to you, to them, to the space between you that has never gone cold despite the silence. This is not over. This connection was not a mistake your heart made. It was not wishful thinking dressed up as intuition. It was real. It remains real. And the universe has been quietly, persistently, almost stubbornly refusing to let either of you fully move on, because it is not done with what it started between you. The signs were never asking you to chase. They were asking you to trust. You have only ever seen the surface of what this person is moving through, what you experienced, the distance, the inconsistency, the love that seemed to arrive and then retreat like a tide with no predictable pattern, was a visible edge of something that runs far deeper than anything between you. This person is carrying something old, something that existed long before you entered their life, and will need to be fully laid down before they can be fully present in yours. Maybe it is the wound of someone who loved them and then left without warning. Maybe it is the pattern of a person who was taught, early and harshly, that vulnerability is a liability, that needing someone gives that someone power over you, that love, however beautiful, is also a door through which devastating loss can enter. They learned this somewhere, in childhood, in a past relationship, in some moment that seemed small at the time and turned out to restructure everything. Jung called these complexes, emotionally charged wounds that operate autonomously beneath conscious awareness. You do not choose to act from a complex. It simply activates, hijacks your behavior, and recedes, often leaving the person confused about why they did what they did, why they pulled back from something good, why they sabotaged the precise thing they were praying for. This is not an excuse for pain they cause you. Your hurt is real and it deserves to be honored, but it is an explanation that restores something important, your dignity, because you did not fail. You were not too much or too little. You were not lacking. You walked into someone else's unfinished interior war and felt the crossfire, and you interpreted it as something being wrong with you. There was nothing wrong with you. There was something unresolved in them that God refused to let them carry into the next chapter of their life without addressing. That addressing is happening now, quietly, painfully, without your witness. They are doing the work, not because they chose it consciously, but because the soul always moves toward what it needs, even when the ego resists. And what their soul needs at the end of this is exactly where it has always been pointed, toward you. If this message found you at the exact moment you needed it, that is this channel working exactly as it was meant to. Subscribe and turn on every notification, because these videos do not arrive randomly. They arrive when you are ready for them. And the next one may carry exactly what you still need to hear. Here's a truth that most people are never told. God does not test ordinary love. Ordinary love does not require testing. It burns quickly, illuminates briefly, and extinguishes on its own without intervention. What God tests is a love that was built to last. The love that, if allowed to arrive before both people are ready, would be too powerful for either of them to hold without it consuming them. He tests the one who loves more deeply, because depth requires strength, because a love of genuine magnitude is not a gentle thing. It is a transforming thing. It reorganizes a person from the inside. It asks things of them that casual feeling never would. And before it is allowed to do that work, God ensures a vessel is strong enough to survive the transformation. Jung understood this through his concept of the self, the totality of who a person is and who they are becoming. He wrote that the self always moves toward wholeness. Always, without exception. But the path to wholeness is never comfortable. It requires the ego, the small, defended, frightened part of the self, to be dismantled enough that something larger can emerge. The person who loves you is having their ego dismantled right now. Every defense they built, every wall they constructed from old hurt, every story they told themselves about why love never works, why people always leave, why it is safer to stay behind glass. God is taking all of it apart, piece by piece, without asking for their permission, because the love waiting on the other side of this process is too important to be blocked by architecture that was only ever built from fear. And you are not untouched by this either. The waiting you have endured has done something to you, something you may not have fully accounted for yet. It has deepened you. It has stripped away the parts of you that were willing to accept less than what you deserve. It has made you someone who knows, truly knows, the difference between love that is convenient and love that is real. That knowledge is not free. It costs you. And God does not charge a price without providing something worth that cost. What is coming toward you is worth every moment of this, not because suffering is noble, but because what you are about to receive required both of you to become exactly who you are right now. Neither of you could have arrived at what is coming any other way. There will be a moment, a specific, ordinary, unremarkable moment, and it will break everything open. It will not announce itself. It will not arrive with the dramatic architecture of a movie scene. It will come quietly, the way the most important things always do. They will be in the middle of something mundane, driving or sitting in a room full of people, or standing in their kitchen in the early morning before the day has demanded anything of them yet. And something will shift. It will feel like a door unlocking from the inside. All the weight they've been carrying, the resistance, the fear, the half-constructed reasons they have been using to keep themselves from reaching for you, will simply become too heavy to justify. Not because anything external changes, because they change. Because the work God has been doing them quietly, invisibly, across all these weeks or months of silence, will complete itself in that single unremarkable moment. And your name will rise in them like something that was always there, waiting beneath the surface of every distraction they use to keep from feeling the full force of it. They will reach for you, not impulsively, not from loneliness or weakness or a moment of emotional collapse. They will reach for you from a new place, a steadier, more honest, more open place than they have ever operated from before. And when they do, you will feel the difference immediately, not because the words they say will be perfect, but because something behind the words will have changed. Something solid and unhurried and finally unafraid. Jung wrote that the moment of integration, the moment a person truly meets their own shadow and accepts it, is followed by an expansion of the entire psyche. A sudden luminous opening, as though a room that was always dark is flooded with light, not from a single window, but from every direction simultaneously. That is the moment approaching in this person's life, and it is approaching faster than you know. You have sensed it already. In those inexplicable moments of stillness, when you felt not hope exactly, but certainty. When something deep and wordless and you went calm, just briefly, and you simply knew this was not the end. That knowing was not self-deception. It was your psyche receiving accurate information from the field of connection that still exists between you, active, unbroken, and quietly humming beneath the silence like a current that was never switched off. The test is almost finished. The moment is almost here. Hold on just a little longer. This is the part most people get wrong. They treat waiting as passive, as something that happens to them while the real living is suspended. They put themselves on hold, emotionally, spiritually, personally, as though beginning to grow in the absence of this person would somehow be a betrayal of what they are hoping for, as though becoming more fully themselves while they wait might disqualify them from the love that is coming. That is exactly backwards. Jung was unambiguous about this. He wrote that the greatest gift you can offer another soul is not your need for them, but your wholeness. Not your waiting, but your becoming. The individuation process, the sacred work of becoming fully yourself, is not something you do after love arrives. It is the very thing that calls love toward you. It is the frequency that the right person recognizes from across whatever distance still exists between you. So here's what you do while you wait. You stop shrinking. You stop keeping yourself small in the places where you stop growing, because it felt disloyal to outgrow the version of yourself that was in that connection. You return to things that fill you, the work, the creativity, the relationships, the quiet practices that remind you who you are when you're not defined by longing. You let yourself laugh without guilt. You let yourself be present in your own life without interpreting every good moment as evidence that you have somehow moved on and lost something. You have not moved on. You are moving forward. Those are entirely different things. And here's what else you do. You tend to your own shadow. You sit with the parts of yourself this experience surface. The fear of abandonment, the need for external validation, the places where your self-worth became contingent on being chosen. Not to punish yourself for having them, to understand them, to integrate them. Because Jung was clear, the work is never only happening in the other person. It is always happening in both directions simultaneously. The version of you that receives this love must be as prepared as the version of them that finally offers it. You are being built to, right now, in this very period of waiting that feels like nothing is happening. Everything is happening. Let me tell you what this love will feel like when it finally arrives. It will not feel like relief. That is the first thing that will surprise you. You've been bracing for it, half expecting that when it finally comes, you will exhale some enormous hell breath and collapse into the comfort of finally being chosen. But it will not feel like relief the way you are imagining it. It will feel like recognition, like something in you standing up slowly and saying, yes, finally this love will not ask you to be smaller. It will not require you to edit yourself at the edges to fit comfortably into someone else's limitations. It will not arrive with conditions dressed up as preferences, or with affection that is rationed carefully to maintain a power imbalance you are never quite supposed to name. It will not cost you your peace. It will not cost you your dignity. It will not cost you the quiet self-respect you fought so hard to rebuild during this time of waiting. What it will give you is something you have not let yourself fully imagine yet, because imagining has felt too dangerous. It will give you rest. The particular, profound rest of being with someone who is not a puzzle you must constantly solve, who does not require you to perform or manage or carefully calibrate how much of yourself is safe to reveal on any given day. Someone who sees you fully, directly, without flinching, and moves closer rather than pulling back. This person will know your depth and not be threatened by it. They will know your sensitivity and call it what it actually is, a form of strength that most people are not brave enough to carry. They will reach for you in the small moments, not only the significant ones. They will be interested in a version of you that exists on an ordinary Tuesday with nothing remarkable happening. That version, the unperformed, unguarded, quietly real version that you've been protecting for a very long time. And the love itself will be different from anything before, not because it will be louder, but because it will be steady, because it will not spike and crater and leave you perpetually disoriented, because it will simply be there, warm, present, unhurried, the way that real things are there, the way the sun is there, not announcing itself constantly, just reliably, unquestionably present. That is what is coming toward you. Not almost love, not love with an asterisk. The real thing, built by God, tested by fire, and finally ready to arrive. If Carl Jung could speak directly to you in this moment, this is what he would say. He would not begin with comfort. He was never a man who offered comfort before truth. He would look at you, through you, the way his writing always manages to do. And he would say this: you have been interpreting this silence as information about your worth. You have taken the absence of the thing you love and constructed from it an entire argument against yourself. You have been both the prosecutor and the defendant in a trial for which there was never any legitimate evidence. Stop. The silence is not a verdict. It is a season. Everything in the psyche moves in cycles. The night is not evidence that there will be no morning. The winter is not evidence that the earth has forgotten how to grow. What you are experiencing is a necessary descent. The catabasis, the going down that has always preceded every genuine rising in the history of the human soul. You are not being abandoned by love. You are being prepared for a depth of love your former self would not have known how to receive. The person coming toward you is real. The connection you felt was not a fabrication of longing. I have spent my life studying the language of the unconscious, and I tell you with the full authority of that work, the soul does not create feelings of this magnitude around things that do not exist. The psyche is not cruel in that particular way. What you felt was a recognition. Soul meeting soul across the ordinary surface of life. And what has been separated will not remain separated, because what the self has recognized, it does not willingly release. Trust the process you did not choose. Trust the timing you cannot control. And above all, trust yourself. The fact that you are still here, still open, still willing to hope after everything the silence has asked of you, that is not weakness. That is the rarest kind of courage. Jung would be proud of you for it. You were never the problem. Not once. Not in any of the moments you replayed searching for what you did wrong. Not in the silences you filled with self-doubt. Not in the spaces where you made yourself smaller, trying to be easier to love. You were never too much. You were never the reason. You were simply someone extraordinary who walked into a situation that was not yet ready to honor what you brought to it, and you stayed soft anyway. That is the thing about you that is genuinely remarkable. After everything, the confusion, the distance, the love that arrived and then seemed to retreat, you did not harden. You did not close. You did not take the pain the situation gave you and repackage it as armor. You stayed open, tender, still capable of hoping, still willing to believe that love, real love, is possible for you. That is not naivety. That is extraordinary strength dressed in quiet clothing. You are not someone who is forgotten easily. You are not someone who leaves a small impression. The people who have loved you carry you in ways they cannot always explain, and the one who is coming toward you now will spend the rest of their life understanding exactly why God made them wait for you specifically. You are always worth the wait, not eventually, not once you became more, or fixed something, or proved something. Always, exactly as you are, in this moment, worth every single day of it. If this message reached you today and something in it felt like it was written specifically for you, it was, this channel exists for exactly this moment. Subscribe now and turn on every notification. Your next message is already waiting. And something tells me you're going to need to hear it too.